Now I know you have really atrocious language. We're gonna try to. I'm gonna.
Wait. Are you trying to? No. I know. I swear.
I'm trying to stay monetized, so
I don't think I've sweared yet. Let's start over to like edit
there's no
that.
start. There's no starting over.
Oh, okay.
There's
Okay.
just,
Great.
This is it's real. It's me.
Okay.
That's probably. I mean, that's probably.
Well,
it.
we should keep talking. You know.
I'm the host.
I know, but I'm in charge. You invited me. I am Hailey Phillips. I am a systems engineer for a very popular gaming company, and I manage our endpoints between on-prem with Config Manager, Jamf, Intune. I do quite a bit in Azure and do quite a bit in AWS, and really trying to focus on modernizing our infrastructure. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP.
I was waiting for that. I was gonna be like, you lead with that, but that's okay. That's all right.
Okay, I mean, we can start over. I'll be like, hi, I'm Hailey Phillips. No, I'm starting over. You said there's banter, okay?
There's no starting. We don't start. There's no starting over. You can't go back. Going back just a little bit in case people don't like coffee. So I know when did we met last year. I think we started chatting on Twitter when you got your MVP around the same time I did. And I ran into you at MMS in Florida, that one. And we just did a session at the mall one, the MMS mall one. I think it was I got tremendous feedback. It might have been the best session there, I think.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, who else can say that they did a 3:00 session and the entire crowd was having a great time? I mean, not very many crowds yell out "I am beta" all together. I mean, that's not usually a thing you can get a room full of men to do. So.
Okay. It was a lot of fun. So you're an MVP in Intune, right? Like me, but that kind of not surprised me. It wasn't like I'm like, geez, you don't know anything about Intune, but it surprised me because you know a lot about like automation and DevOps and PowerShell. So I guess, but you deal with Intune every day. So how'd you get to be an Intune MVP?
So I would say that yes, automation and DevOps is probably more my passion project. But as far as Intune, I've been in Intune and working on building Intune and making it better for the companies that I work for since 2020. I remember the first time that we did Autopilot. The university I worked for decided that we were going to do hybrid Autopilot, and we also did at the time, Azure AD only Autopilot, and just seeing the tremendous effect it had on our deployment experience, how happy our stakeholders were, was incredible. And then also at a university especially, we had so many different departments, and giving them the ability to manage their own devices, because we had basically kind of trained up each department of here's your RBAC permissions, here's all of the ways that you can manage your specific devices. And it just worked so well that I love the product. But I would say the automation side of it now is just because I'm on such a small team that I'm constantly looking for ways to kind of optimize everything that I'm doing and trying to scale it. So I would say that I started with Intune and just found more ways that I wanted to make the experience better for my team and also integrate with the rest of our environment.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like you found the path like Microsoft wants people to find. It's like, you spend enough time in Intune and you start thinking something's missing, but I think that thing is ultimately the Graph API, which I'm sure, I know you work with as the way to automate and stuff. I think that's really that's a big part of Intune, as much as maybe they don't say it or folks don't want to admit it. Like, I meet people who are Intune admins and have no idea what the Graph is and don't write PowerShell. And in my mind, I'm thinking, how?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what would you do? Like, how could you do that?
Yeah,
It's
no,
gotta be tough.
it's wild to me, and I've thought about that a lot too, because part of, I think my career probably would have been a lot more successful sooner had I embraced PowerShell sooner. I wrote PowerShell, but I never really thought of ways of optimizing it for myself and my environment. And probably 2 years ago is when I really got in and, did the entire PowerShell in a month of lunches series, and really started working on, okay, every single thing that I'm doing, I want to be able to write in PowerShell. And that just absolutely expedited everything that I was doing. And I think that PowerShell gets really undersold, especially in the Intune space, because I think a lot of times people are trying to get comfortable with being cloud native, and so then they're just like, oh my gosh, I need to see this instantly, I need to see what's going on.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that if you just take that little time extra to really embrace PowerShell and really make sure that your what you're building you understand more deeply, that's going to pay significant dividends in not only understanding cloud, but also in making your environment consistent, which is going to have better experiences for your end users. It's going to be easier for admins. And you're also going to be able to sell the business impact so much better to executives and, everyone around you. And so I think it's kind of that catch-22. It's like, oh my gosh, well, my director asked me to do this, I need to make sure and click and do it. But the problem is, especially in Intune, as you know, it's kind of hard to see, okay, what is every single thing that's impacting my machine? And with PowerShell, you really can see that. And so I would say that that's honestly, Intune is probably the reason that I love automation and PowerShell as much as I do, because a lot of the insights that I wanted to see in Intune just weren't there in 2020. And I mean, it's completely different now in 2025 than it was in 2020. The other day I was, in the console, and I was like, oh my God, this looks great. I can't believe this. And they laughed at me. They're like, Hailey, that's been there for a while. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. I'm just in graphs so much.
I know. I think it resonates. I think it's going to resonate with the folks watching, because, we talk a lot about all the time, like, it doesn't matter whether it should be a requirement. It's just part of it, right? That's just part of the, like, you're gonna need to get in there and do it. But it's not, I don't want to say if something is easy or hard, because that's all subjective and relative, but it's more like, I don't think it's as complex. Like, if you're new to it, like, it's a fairly accessible thing to learn, I think, as far as graph, like, because I didn't know any API stuff before I found graph, so it was completely foreign to me. I don't know about you, but
yeah, well, I mean, all last year it's kind of embarrassing, but I mean, the amount of times that I cried just being like, am I stupid? Like, I don't know what's going on at all, because I didn't have a dev background even a little bit. And there's so many error messages that just feel foreign, and then it's not consistent with other APIs. I mean, the support for Graph has improved significantly, but there's just so many weird things, so it makes it challenging to learn, especially if you don't know all of the tools that are available, like using the Graph Explorer or X-Ray,
right,
or how to use dev tools in your browser. Like, a lot of people assume everyone knows how to do that, but if you're on Stack Overflow and someone's like, yeah, just do this thing, and they reference it as if everybody's done it, that makes it really hard for people to feel comfortable in failing, because that's really what it is.
Well, it is. You got to fail fast. That's the thing. You don't be afraid to, if anything, expedite your failing. But I mean, I kind of want that to resonate with everyone. Like, you're sitting there talking about, you're so frustrated, you're going nuts over this stuff. And, when we were there at MMS, I mean, people, you dropped, I think it's safe to say, you dropped some facts and knowledge on people. Folks were coming up to you, thanking you about, you have, I mean, your GitHub's insane. We'll get to that in a little bit, but like the stuff you have, but no, so I'm not, I'm saying for where you are now and the impact you're having on devs, for people to understand that it wasn't too long ago where you were pulling your hair out, right? that's important because I think it lets people know, like, it's like when I tell people in 2015 I didn't know what a domain was, right? So it's like, just because you're an expert or you're a speaker or even you're an MVP doesn't mean you're always just, I just knew these things all the time. Like, working at it is real, putting the time in is real, and there's still so much we don't know.
Like, I will say that's probably one of the things is I legitimately didn't start reading and like actually setting aside time to dedicate to PowerShell. Like, it was last January, I went through some personal stuff and I was like, man, I'm having a hard time focusing on finding new things to do, and I needed to keep my brain busy. And I was like, well, what's this thing that I'm insecure about? And I was like, well, PowerShell. And so I just sat down every night and I watched this guy on YouTube who he's phenomenal. His name's Jacked Programmer. And I kind of realized that one of the things I was struggling with is trying to learn a new thing and trying to learn a new thing with PowerShell. Not a great idea. Maybe let's learn one habit at a time. And so he did this whole automate Active Directory, and I was like, oh, I know Active Directory. And then I didn't have to worry about all of the graph modules and authentication and timeouts and pagination and all of this other stuff. And so I started doing his series, and then I kept going, and just the level of self-confidence I started to build. I mean, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And every time that I had started reading the old version of PowerShell in the month of lunches, it was like, here, this is how to write hello, so-and-so. And you're just like, okay, how does that actually help me in my day-to-day? And it's really hard to feel as though you can justify to your manager, hey, I'm going to take this time during my workday and focus on self-improvement, but don't worry, I will have a great deliverable for you. And they're like, what's the deliverable? So there is there is something to be said of, your career is your own, and there are resources out there to help you. But to your point, we all have to start somewhere. And, I don't think there's anything special about me. I don't think I'm this crazy smart person. I just kept showing up, and it's that compounding interest of just doing a little bit every day. And I just kept focusing on, I don't need to be doing hours every day. I just want to spend even just 5 minutes to get that habit and keep building that muscle memory. And
it is muscle memory. Like coding really is. Like, I love those classes where you're just following someone and you're typing. And I always tell people, don't copy and paste. Because even if it's something like, I do this thing on my channel where it's like, I'll talk about something, I'll have a solution, and then I spend 15 minutes typing it out. And I thought that was going to go one of two ways. I'm thinking people are just going to skip over this. So one time I didn't do it. I said, well, here's the script. And they're like, oh, you skipped the part where I like following along with you and all. And I would leave mistakes in and stuff. So there's something to be said.
Are you talking about my comments, Steve? I'm pretty sure I was one of those people. I used to watch your channel even before I was friends with you. Oh, no, I loved it. I never copied and pasted because I was like, this is great. And I would watch your graph videos because I'd be like, wait a second, I want to make sure I didn't miss something, or am I making this overcomplicated? The answer is always yes, but
Well, it helps with the understanding when you're literally going through it and because what'll happen is even if you don't know it, you'll recognize certain things. Like this year I learned C# over the last 6 months, and I did my best, but like after a while I would recognize certain things where it was like, oh, I know how to write this kind of method or helper. And it was like same thing with like PowerShell and graph, whatever you're doing, if you're in the act of doing it, you're gonna recognize it. So you said showing up, right? And I'm a big advocate of that. For anything you want to do, just show up and do it. Like, if you care about it, that's a big thing. But it's good to hear that. I think perspective of it. Your GitHub is popping, right? It's and it was now when we were at the MVP summit, your GitHub, you contributed to an actual Microsoft project, right?
Yeah, that was a wild day. Talk about, I think I've already sold it that I'm a bit of a emotional and crier, but like that was just like a profound moment for me. Yeah.
I'm gonna show this shot of you, me, Dean, and Andrew, because we were hanging out in one of the Microsoft buildings when it happened, and I don't remember if we were actually helping you or if we just
Yes.
looked like we were, but it was cool, and that was a really fun week. But yeah, tell me about that
Yeah.
that contribution.
Totally. So it's funny that you were talking about like some of the showing up every day. So one of the things that I would say in anyone's PowerShell and automation journey, when they say in the book, do one thing at a time, always only try to do one thing at a time. That is what always trips me up constantly. Is I'll start like, oh, if I can do this, I should be able to do these like 47 other things, and I just make things too complicated. We had our user photos was on a server. And so I was like, I bet I could use Azure Arc and I can use an automation account, and I want to use a managed identity so that way the user experience is the same. They can just drop it on the file share, and until we can get to a point of a better solution. But what kept tripping me up is the authentication protocol, because a managed identity, you're not going to be able to run that locally. It's only if it's run in Azure. And so I was having all kinds of assembly errors between the Graph PowerShell module and the Azure PowerShell module. And so that's honestly how I started just deciding that I wanted to use just invoke REST method. I was like, I'm going to learn all of this. I'm going to figure out how to do it the hard way, mostly because I wanted to learn pagination. I wanted to learn token refresh. I wanted to learn all of the complexities of this because I wanted to scale, and I wanted this skill set to be able to be taken not just from what I was doing right now, but what if I need to use it in another cloud? What if I need to, what if I have to migrate from another cloud into Azure? So anyway, so I had worked on that script forever and ever and ever and was getting so frustrated because I didn't, logically step through it of, okay, let's start small. But when I finally finished that script, which handled authentication and pagination and could be run in an automation account on the Azure Arc enabled server and upload all of those photos. And I also had done another thing that I think I just like making my life hard a little bit. I don't know what that says about me, but I didn't want to be making constant calls back to Graph because that's going to cost money. And so I wanted to take every single photo that was on the file share, store that in an ordered hash table, and then make one call to Graph to see if they have a photo or not, make a new ordered hash table, and then push the photo. And so it's only making 2 calls in the script. And so when I finally got this done, this took months and months and months. And I think I pinged you a lot of like, oh my gosh, I can't get it to work. And what the heck, I have leaky data and all kinds of various errors that I ran into. And then I finally posted it. I think probably the week before MVP Summit. I can't remember.
It was close. Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, and so then at MVP Summit, I got a message from the Azure Arc team asking if I would contribute to their Azure Arc Jumpstart docs, which I just kind of was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And then so to be at MVP Summit with you and Dean and Andrew was just surreal because I had been reading your stuff. Like, I mean, I have Andrew's Intune cookbook, and he was part of how I got better at PowerShell. And and I also had never contributed.
He didn't seem to care that you had to put. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, exactly. I tried to take a picture with him, and he was like, "Who are you? Get away from me!"
You had a
I can show it if you want. But
sure,
yeah. Here we go.
All right, so okay, so you got it in VS Code here.
Oh, great! I made a bunch of these changes before I hopped on the call. There we go. Okay.
Is that the battery? Is that the computer battery?
Yeah. Yep. I have my battery life. I have the time. This is the folder. So what happens is I am popping around from a bunch of repositories that I set up because I tried to learn from my mistakes and didn't trying to only do one thing with one script and starting to build out from there. But what happens is it's sometimes hard to tell if you're actually in like which folder you're in. And then like right here, okay, is this actually a GitHub repo? Which branch am I on? Even though it says down here in this bottom left of, oh, I'm on this branch. I never look down there. Exactly. And so I'll be like hitting save all the time. And then all of a sudden I realize, oh, I am going to like write over files, or there's a conflict or whatever. And so I wanted to have a terminal that kind of made it really quick and easy for me to see if I was behind on commits. And you know, I'm a millennial and have anxiety, and I don't want to like crash my stuff. And so, and I thought it looked cool. Like there was somebody I saw who had it, and I think I saw it at PowerShell Summit. So
it does look cool. You know, I think it looks cool.
Well, thank you. So I don't even remember how I did all of it, or like how I got the idea, but I'll show you just really quick. So I save everything in a GitHub folder, like that's what I just call it. And so I have a bunch of my, what's it called? Repos in here. And so from there, I just have, you know, this is a create AZ resource. This is all up on my GitHub. And these are just my PowerShell scripts. But what I like about this is, say I make a change to this and say I write like this and just do Control Save, and then I'll hit sync. And then you're going to see down here that I'm not up to date. I think so, actually. So I'll do git pull. Oh, now you can see the cool stuff at the bottom.
Yeah. Go back to that. What was it doing? So it's giving you like command.
Yeah. So I have a couple functions. So actually, let me open my profile so that way I can notepad and then profile. Here we go. So this is my profile, which, okay. So the first thing is I have Oh My Posh, and I can go through that in a sec. But then I have custom icons that I set. It's a PowerShell module called Terminal Icons. Mm-hmm. And then what you saw with all of the predictive text, that's just PS readline. And so I set it so that way it's PS readline, like the history, list view, and the edit mode is Windows. And then I just made a function so that way with an alias of just PLS, you know, please. So that way I can see my directory size and everything that I wanted there. So if I go to type something like git, then I can see everything that I've done in my history, because like you said, I forget stuff, and then I don't want to type out these big long things all the time.
It's right there. Yeah. Cause what I'll do is I'll do the like, oh wow. Yeah. I'll do like up and try to keep going. But that kind of breaks your flow.
Exactly. So, all of this is just a JSON file. This those icons and everything. That is the theme, and then the specific outputs that you're seeing right here, those are just part of my actual profile.
I like clear step-by-step instructions. So you have a blog that you published recently on basically setting this up, and you're also going to be working on like a step-by-step series.
Yeah. Yes.
I told you to.
You did, and I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, that's right, because you kind of pointed it out of like, well, how did you learn it? And then I realized, oh, I had to use multiple resources, and I don't know why, absentmindedly, I just kind of thought, oh, if I just put together all of the different resources, but I took bits and pieces from all of those resources. Yeah. And so
you're going to create your own series. I'm basically, it sounds like I'm pushing you to get your stuff out there. I just want something I could follow to make my life easier. So what's, so what's next in terms of, so like the speaking and the events have become a big part of, what you do. You've done a lot of sessions. You did a ton at MMS. You had 5 or 6.
Yeah, I had 6. I don't know that I want to do that many again, because I mean, I think at MMS I had planned that we were going to work on stuff at MMS, and I think I just like kept running by you and waving, like going back to my room, and then like just you're like, busy. Where are you going? I'm like, I got another session, and you're like, what the heck? So
very busy. What's next on the schedule for you and presenting?
So I just submitted for MMS Nashville, so the fall series in October. I think that's formal presenting. That's like
how many sessions did you submit for that?
I submitted 3, and I'm going to only do 3. So depending on how many they accept, you know, I know that you and I have one that I'm definitely interested in doing again. I mean, we got to give the people what they want. I mean, who doesn't want to learn about endpoint management, PowerShell, and like laugh at the same time?
It was a great, the feedback was tremendous for that session. So I would imagine that they're going to want more of that. All right. So you submitted for that. Any internet, I've been doing like international stuff. Any international stuff? Are you doing any of that? Are you going to Norway or crazy stuff?
not that I know of. I also, you know, I have an actual job that I also have to do. So, I've gone to like 3 conferences already, and it's now finally the middle of May. And so I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, I gotta chill out a little, because I have things that I want to do at work. But
sure. Your job probably wants you to do work.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, hey, that's super cool that you've automated all this stuff, but like you also have to be here. And I'm like, what? That's wild. No international ones so far. Maybe next year. But none yet.
Okay.
I think one of the big things that I plan on doing this summer, and into the fall, is I have, you know, the blog series that you're trying to get me to do, which I will do. But also I want to write a lot more on how I learned some of the things that I have of, you know, like how to do infrastructure as code. Because, you know, when I think about it, honestly, a huge reason that I've even done infrastructure as code is I messed up my lab a lot. Especially when I became an MVP and was having to set up my Intune environment and Azure environment from scratch. You know, I've only come into environments where it already existed. And so it's really easy to trip over yourself and be like, oh crap, I didn't register, you know, that provider and in Azure, and this is, and so I always assume that other people are dealing with the same thing, and I want to help people reduce that barrier to entry. And so I write, you know, infrastructure as code stuff for myself, but also for other people. So that way they have a starting off point of like, hey, here's a lab environment that you can go spin up and tear down and do this over and over and over again and get more comfortable with PowerShell, get more comfortable with automation. So that's one of the big things that I want to write about.
All right. Well, listen, thanks for doing this, for coming over to the basement here.
No, I would never follow you into a basement. I would never follow anyone. And like, come on, I've seen enough horror movies. I've watched enough Forensic Files, and like, you know.
Well, thanks for doing it. Hopefully, if they let us in, we'll be at MMS speaking in Nashville, and you know, we'll be seeing you.
I don't know why I did that with my hand. Like.